Morning, Hopkins. Ogechi Musa, class of 2010, is a Nigerian-American writer, producer, actress, and activist from the New Haven County area. She aspires to create raw artwork that promotes social change and positivity while increasing representation of marginalized groups on film and TV. She strongly believes that being exposed to different cultures and stories can increase empathy in the world, resulting in improved humanity. Here's what Ms. Fazano, Ogechi's favorite teacher, had to say about our keynote speaker. It is not surprising that Ogechi has found her way to the world of filmmaking and storytelling. She's a natural wordsmith, an astute observer of human nature, a tolerant and open-minded individual, and a versatile performer in multiple mediums. When Ogechi was at Hopkins, she attracted a wide variety of friends and peers because she made everyone feel as if she cared about their lives and she reserved all judgment. Displaying a flair for dramatic and a talent for scriptwriting, she brought into focus the language and the interactions of the lives around her. In high school, Ogechi was already laying the groundwork for her career and sharing the dynamic expression of her individuality. Those of us who read her words, enjoyed her conversations, and admire her character always knew that she would create the stories that she has the power and talent to tell. We are delighted to have Ms. Musa join us today and share her journey from inside the classroom to behind the camera. Through art, Ogechi harnesses her passions and talents to speak up and incite change, an act we can all admire and learn from. Please welcome Ms. Ogechi Musa, class of 2010.
Thank you for that introduction, that was beautiful. And thank you for sure and everyone inviting me to come and speak at this important event. And good morning, Hopkins. What's up? This is wild, honestly. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror. I remember too well how comfortable those bleachers felt, and that hope that the speaker would be engaging enough to keep me up. But remember, it's Friday. We got this. We made it, all right? So, what half of you are probably going to go in on some pasta at a team dinner tonight, right? Enjoy the pasta now, people. All right, it catches up to you. But I'm not mad. Curves are in, as every shape should be. Okay, maybe you're not an athlete. Maybe you're all about Latin. So your Friday night is all about Cornelia and that faithful ditch. Spoiler alert, 7th graders. She never makes it out. Just kidding. So many stories to choose from to share with you all from all stages of my life. A few of the most memorable ones were made here on this campus and my college alma mater, BC. But the stories I'll focus on today will give you a deep understanding of how I learned that the time is always right to do right, as MLK said. I had to do right by me to discover how to use my platform to do right by others, and hopefully you'll be inspired to do the same. So the best way to start this tale is from the beginning. My mother is a superwoman. She raised 5 kids in America while supporting all of her 9 younger siblings in Nigeria, and only threatened to move to Canada once. She was 15. If you are wondering, yes, Precious Musa is my little sister, and to those of you who know her, she says hi. So, Precious and I were born into a family with great expectations. Since we were all in my mother's womb, my parents had this image of who we would all grow up to be. And as the years went on, this image turned into like this perfect painting. And if we did not match this painting, it felt like we failed. But don't get me wrong, I'm completely blessed to have parents who care so deeply about our success and value education above everything else. But still, it was wrong to allow myself to live by restriction. Restricting my voice, my whole self, into the dimensions of this metaphorical painting that my parents painted before I was even born. You see, I've always loved acting and writing, and had these hidden filmmaking dreams since I was a child. But they only seemed fit in my dreams because they were not part of my parents' painting. But in J school, I took a small risk and auditioned for my first play, and I got cast. Check it, girl, out. Ever since that audition, Hope Carter never forgot what she saw, and I never forgot how I felt on stage. You see, Hope always insisted, every time she saw me, literally every time, in passing, to continue auditioning. I listened to an extent, but always reverted back to my athlete scholarly image, and it was always academics, then sports, then maybe art. So after tearing my ACL, my freshman year of high school, sports was out of the equation, leaving more time to focus on art. So not only did I partake in more plays, I started writing more. See, I was angry that I was off the basketball court and I saw writing as an outlet. And even when I got approved to go back to sports, I continued to write. So during my senior year here at Hop, I took writing with Mrs. Pisano and received feedback from her that actually ended up changing my life. She simply told me I should consider a career in writing, then gave me a lollipop. Coming from Mrs. Pisano, those words and that lollipop meant everything. But honestly, I never forgot Mrs. Pisano's encouragement since it reflected these deferred dreams and potential success in my true passion. See, here at Hop, the faculty and staff, most of them, actually care. And they basically help raise you, so they know you. Out there, you're gonna have to not only care for yourself, but you're gonna have to really know yourself if you don't already. I simply wasn't prepared for that. Since I was free to make my own decisions, I made all the wrong ones. For the first 2 years of college, I chose the turn up over class attendance. I was completely consumed with short-term enjoyments and fell off the pre-med path. You see, I've always enjoyed a good time, so I fit comfortably into this party persona that blossomed on a campus like BC. And now I realize that I was living by new restrictions that my peers had now handed up me. Peers who disappeared when the lights of the party turned on and were not there for me in the times I needed them the most. Don't get me wrong, I did make genuine college friends and they know who they are, but to be frank, the majority of whom I call my homies are all Hopkins alum. In fact, a fellow Hop alum was with me at BC, and she was one of the few who actually helped me stay afloat during pivotal moments in college and helped me redirect my major to suit my interests. So after switching majors from biochem to psych, I started taking more classes I genuinely enjoyed and finally rediscovered my interest in learning. But just like most psychology majors, I started self-analyzing. I realized in times of negativity why I resorted to my positivity. My smile masked internal pain so well since it was the complete opposite of how I felt inside. This was a blessing because smiling is contagious, it spreads joy and promotes positivity in a plagued society that feeds off of negative energy, but it was also a curse because as I spread my joy, I forgot the pain. I abandoned those feelings and I moved on, not allowing myself time and space to heal. You see, I tended to stay silent, resulting in no reaction or action when I came across something wrong. And I feel that staying silent in these negative moments is equivalent to acceptance. And we can't afford to do what I had been doing, or rather what I had not been doing throughout most of my life. Every single person is now more than ever responsible for their humanity. And what I mean by that is that we are all deeply responsible for holding each other accountable, ourselves as well, to love. And I'm not being cheesy here, I mean this very seriously. Unity is rooted in deep love. And I believe that unity is the only way we're all going to get through the times we're living in. And one of the sole tools we have to engineer that united front and that positive change is our voice. You see, for most of my life, my mind was clouded. My voice was silenced. And I was in a constant state of just naive contentment. So what may come as a surprise is that my time off of school was my year of clarity. You see, during that year, I started making the right decisions. I accepted and confronted the pain and anger garnered from my past experiences, which freed me to rediscover my purpose, the why. During this year, I returned to myself. I started to write down my thoughts, my dreams, and stories. I went to auditions, and after booking a few acting gigs, I started to meet people on set who I would come to call my true friends. Real friends who passionately believed in me and my artistic abilities and truly cared for my well-being. You see, I took a metaphorical paintbrush and I started making some strokes of my own. I woke up to the fact that I'm the one who will end up with this painting, and I'm going to have to face what it looks like every day. And you can't erase your previous strokes because you can only add on to your image, including those from the past. See, I personally took my motivation and my past mistakes to shape the success of my future. Now, this next part is for the POC in the crowd, the people of color. Everyone else, feel free to listen. You see, we marginalized people are being subjected to conscious and subconscious oppression no matter what. And how you react to this determines your character. You cannot always be sweet. Allow yourself to be human, to feel everything deeply. The weak oppress the strong for fear of losing power, and it's your strength that has gotten you to this point, and your strength will continue to help you accept. Lastly, share your experiences. I remember that feeling of the all-white classroom stare searching for your guidance as the sole black folk representative. You see, I used to play this role reversal game, and whenever a race question was posed to me, indirectly or directly, I would ask all the blondes in the class if they all used the same bleach for their hair. You see, it would be uncomfortable and awkward, but the silence that would come after that, the sarcastic, ignorant question, would reflect these same qualities in the question that was just posed to me. You see, after the silence, conversation occurred over the differences and similarities of both of our ethnic groups, with an understanding that we were reflecting on our experience, not ignorance. You see, these moments are teaching opportunities. If we respond to ignorance with silence, then that same ignorance will be bestowed on another brother and sister, which may result in their death. You see, your voice can literally save lives. I believe it is our duty to share knowledge, teach not for self, but for others. And now this goes for everyone. It's part of our privilege as educated citizens to never be silent in the face of ignorance, and to share our stories. My main artistic mission is to create work that expresses some sort of social change and has characters who represent marginalized groups whose stories are usually left untold. And I'm going to cast every shape, every color, every orientation, and tell as many stories as possible as a filmmaker. I truly believe if there's increased representation of cultures on TV and film, there will be increased empathy. And this in turn will strengthen our humanity. Because being empathetic to everyone you encounter will allow you to feel not only for yourself, but to feel for others. We live in a time of fear. Fear of holding each other accountable, fear of truth, and fear of feeling. Honestly, turn on the news. The fate and future of our society is in your hands, the youth. And the youth, we don't have any time for fear. We have work to do. Anyone at any time, on any platform, can do their part in making the right decisions, not only to benefit themselves, but for others, which is a brave task to undertake, but you have to be brave. Your words will provide you the courage needed to face conflict and resist injustice. You can end the cycle of not hearing, the cycle of violence, the cycle of silence, because life continues to prove that your voice is one of the most useful weapons you can have. The voice of MLK will be remembered forever. And with these words, he attacked the core of this country's problem, which is centered on the unjust, inhumane ideology of slavery, a vast, intricate system which has spawned multiple forms of racism that is still ingrained in this American society today. There's no denying that. MLK simply spoke up against the forms of racism that were prevalent in his time, and he knew what the risk of using his weapon would do. But at some point, he decided to fear not only for his life, but for others. And we must continue to do the same. And the sad truth is, good people are weak alone. So we need to collaborate and remember those who came before us who are in the same struggle. If you care, now is the time to stand up. Your voice is needed. Look at what is going on in this world. From children being slaughtered in Aleppo to the hundreds of still missing Nigerian schoolgirls, to the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, and to the Black lives of immigrants being targeted on our own soil. Excuse me, the Native American soil. The abandonment of humanity is at an all-time high because we have the technology to witness the darkness, and so there's no excuse. We have to use our education to fight this darkness because clearly the world needs it. There is a movement happening. There's not one name for it, but we can feel and sense it. Now we must join this resistance to injustice at any level. If it's in a few years when you decide to become a civil rights lawyer, or if it's tomorrow when you decide to take that class or to follow that dream you always wanted to, or if it was yesterday when you stood up with your voice against bigotry, no matter what time you decide to step up and take part, you just heard from MLK in that clip, the time is always right to do right. Be passionate in your pursuits and sit with yourself. Be bitter, be angry, experience euphoria, sit with your emotions because feeling indicates care, and if you care, then you can work, and if you can work, you can jumpstart change. And we need this generation to strive for the greatness, dare to be rare, and to never ever remain silent in the face of ignorance. Now, before I open up the questions, I have one for you. Who wants to guess my age? Go ahead. I'm a unique type of woman, I won't get offended, but don't play this game unless someone asks you to. Let me hear some numbers, use your voice. I don't know. Yep. You with the braces, yep, good job. I'm just 24 years old. I became an artist activist just a few years ago. 20 years from now, I may return and speak about how my path changed yet again and I ended up a judge. Who knows how my path will change, but I will openly accept whatever image my turns into, as long as my painting is a masterpiece painted by me. Thank you. Minutes for questions. Wow, you shot your hands right away. You are ready. These are boys, all right.
You mentioned like for conscious and unconscious biases, when judging people of color or from different marginalized backgrounds. How do you suggest that people, like reduce their unconscious bias as much as possible?
Great question. This is a task that we've been trying to figure out for years because it's the core of racism, the one that you can't control. In order to reduce this, I think people just need to, when non-POC, listen. Just listen to the stories of everyone and accept, because the more you learn about who they are, the more you learn about these different cultures, it's less likely that you're going to judge people based on a stereotype that's ingrained and conditioned into you. So it's all about deconditioning, essentially. And in order to do that, you're going to have to just learn more about different people other than yourself. Because I know it's probably a culture shock for some people when they come here and they meet different people from different paths, but it's a great opportunity to just increase your knowledge of people. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And the more you know about others, it's just the better for the whole world. Good question. Yeah.
What are your feelings on the women's marches that went on after
So the marches and the protests and all of that, I feel like it's our right to use our feet, to use our voice. It's our right to. So if people want to do that, then go ahead. It's important to speak out against what you feel isn't right. Just being out there, you might meet someone and they might tell you their story, or they might tell you what they're doing in their community, and you might join them. So going out there and being around people that have a common goal and a common cause, I think that's what's important. The people you meet out there, not just yelling, not just, just going with just moving with the flow and following. Don't follow. Go out there for a real purpose, not just to take a picture and post it on Instagram. You can do more than that by meeting whoever's out there. Increase your network and see what you guys can do as a collective change. So, I was out at one of the marches, definitely, and I actually spoke at the Hartford one for a couple minutes, and it just felt great. I met people, and someone wanted me to do a documentary on them, and so now I have another gig. So it's just it's awesome to go out there and just meet everyone who also shares your common goals and interests. Any other questions? Someone wanted to? Oh, yes. I like the shirt.
Yeah, I got it from Sidara, which is a company that fights against human trafficking by helping women to get out of slavery and teaches them how to use skills that they can use by making clothing, etc.
Great.
My question is this: what do you think when you hear people say that they are colorblind?
Great question. So I believe that when I hear that people are colorblind, I understand their intention. I'm hoping that they mean that they don't judge by color. It's how you phrase things that really matter. I personally don't say I'm colorblind. I used to say that until I realized when I say that I'm colorblind, I am taking away from the culture of the people. Whoever, whatever color, any shade, I'm taking away from that. And in that way, it's not really respecting that person. Like, you have to respect the people you are around. And if they have a color, understand the color. Don't just be blind to it. Just be, I'm color understanding. And that's not a phrase. Don't know. No hashtag for that one. But, you know, you need to understand the color. You can't dismiss it just because that's their culture. And that might explain why they're doing certain things. That might explain why you guys are, you know, differing. And knowing more about their culture is important. You know, you need to consider why they're acting a way or they believe a certain way so that you can move forward together. So I don't use the term, but I understand why people use it, but I just think it's wrongly phrased just because it takes away from that person. Good question. Purple shirt, favorite color?
Hi.
Yeah.
What would you say is the importance or role of intersectionality in discussions like these?
Yeah, I try to include intersectionality as much as possible in my speech. I try to touch upon a lot of different issues just for that reason, because you can't be supporting just one thing without supporting all, just because it is all connected. Like, we all are integrated in a way. You know, your movement is going to affect my movement. That's just how the world works. If you are chemists, you know that as well. Like, every part of that equation matters for the end result. So it matters that we all, you know, accept the different forms of injustices. Because if you're fighting for one injustice, you're fighting for them all. Because in a way, you have to fight empathetically. Like, I'm going to fight for Black lives. I'm a Black female. I'm going to fight for, you know, gender issues. I'm a female. But I also will fight for any other issue that is not, you know, that's not pertaining to me, because it's injustice. Injustice is this huge, the hugest umbrella, and everything under it should get attention. You should recognize it as an issue. But if you want to focus your, you know, if you want to focus your cause, if you want to focus your attention to one that speaks true to you, go for it. That's fine. Like, you don't have to fight everywhere. You don't have to be in every march. You don't have to, but you have to accept that it is an injustice. And I think that's the core of intersectionality, is understanding and stating and supporting that you are against all injustices. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's always important and heartening to see someone come home and share their experiences back with all of us, especially at a time like this when many of us, wherever we are in our backgrounds and our histories, ask ourselves how we act, how we mobilize the vision, how we mobilize the want, how we mobilize the emotions to do what's right, and how we determine what's right. And you've done that. So thank you very much.
This is literally how I know that I made it these next 3 words off to class.